Okay, I think we're good now. Is recording?
Yeah.
It is recording? Okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Minerva Mendoza, and we're going to talk about today about Section K. It's not my strongest point, and I was saying that I was trying to look for information combining three sources, Paz Davic, the Balance book, and Cooper book, and it took me a while. So I'm sorry I couldn't finish the whole PowerPoint, but I think we can go through all the points with the help of people who are in here. So let's start with the disclaimer. The BCBA exam prep study group was created by and for students to earn their BCABA certification. Most of the leaders and participants are not a BCBA or BCABA at this time. These meetings are meant to have active discussions to collaborate, ask questions, and provide helpful suggestions to better understand the BACB for edition task list concepts. Due to it is important to know that all viewers and participants are responsible to verify the accuracy of the information being provided in order to successfully prepare for the BCABA exam. Some ethical considerations: refrain from sharing any BCABA test questions during this meeting. Refrain from sharing any paid courses or specific identifier client information during this meeting. If sharing any open resources, peer review articles or books, please make sure to provide proper credit to the author. As a student in the field of applied behavior analysis, ABA, we must act in a professional and ethical manner at all times. BCBA exam prep rules: make sure to mute your microphones if you are not speaking. This will allow us to have a clear and understandable conversation. Allow the leader and all participants a turn to speak without interruptions. Make sure to be respectful to others and refrain from using any inappropriate language throughout the entire meeting. And let's have fun. I don't know, we're gonna have fun with this section. Okay, so today is task list for edition, and it's section K, and it's implementation, management, and supervision. Okay, so K01 is provide for ongoing documentation of behavioral service. And when we provide documentation of behavioral service we have to start from the beginning to the end. And we need to collect data until behavior change is meaningful and durable. What I mean by meaningful, did anybody know?
That is generalizing, applicable in regular environment, natural environment.
What I think more is to meaningful is more socially significant, and it's more is more like adaptable for the kids to be, like you're saying, in the environment, or generalizing the behavior. And durable, of course, is after they get the behavior change, we need to program for maintenance. And then the data are more accurate when it's recorded immediately when the behavior occurs. So what happened when we record later and not immediately? Anyone?
You can forget. You may forget. You may forget what was said, or you may forget something. You may not be able to remember all the information that was going on at that time of the session.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't know, like, if you're using, like frequency, how many times, the behavior occur. And if you do not record that immediately, you will forget like how many times that behavior occur.
Yeah.
So
and the data won't be accurate.
yes, exactly. So recording later requires staff to depend on their memory of what occurred. Also, by recording data immediately, it will help to show procedural fidelity. And these are some of AKAs for procedural fidelity. Is procedural fidelity, fidelity of implementation. And that procedural fidelity intervention is implemented correctly. And we need to ensure everyone is involved, carries out and support the intervention as planned. And remember, the higher the treatment integrity, the effective the treatment. Some of the continuation for K01, confidential documentation of the service provided need to be maintained for at least how many years?
7.
7, yes. And some of the BCABA guidelines for the documents of behavior service typically include assessment data. That's what we have to include in the documentation that we're gonna keep or maintain. So assessment data, data on behavior change, description of intervention, progress notes, and are all typical elements in a client records. So client records often contain information regarding past treatment that may have been effective and which other service providers may be able to use to treat that individual. What is this phrase remind you? This whole phrase. I think is one of the, what is it?
Technological.
Technological, yes, exactly. Agency or other responsible parties will likely maintain the records for the behavior analyst. And BCBA guidelines direct behavior analysts to comply with all applicable state and federal laws. And we have to follow the HIPAA rules, that is the Organizational Policies for Human Rights Board for handling confidential client records. More K01 continuation, maintain records, and I found this in PASABIC in page 289. Maintain confidentiality when creating, storing, accessing, transferring, and disposing of records, whether these are written, automated, electronic, or in other medium. I didn't understand what automated is. Did anybody knows what they mean by this?
I think that means like simple and easy to do.
Oh, okay.
But also automated has to do with anything automatic, like an electronic, a machine that you're using to keep them.
Oh, okay. Okay, I see. So how do you maintain and dispose records? It has to be in a manner that permits compliance with the requirements of the BCBA code and the Professional and Ethical Compliance Code for Behavior Analysis 2016. And these are the pages where I found information on K01. Cooper, Balance, and then PASABIC. Any questions on K01?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, K02. Identify the contingencies governing the behavior of those responsible for carrying out behavior changes procedures and design interventions accordingly. So for this one, I found that ensure that programs are carried out with high degree of fidelity by staff who often work and supervise. And basically it's us, like when we work, not all the time we are supervised by the DCBA. So sometimes we have to work unsupervised and we need to work with a high degree of fidelity. We need to be clear with who is implementing the behavior plan, what are their strengths and weaknesses, and make sure therapists, parents, caregivers, and whoever is working with the client are trained to implement the behavior plan correctly. And again, use technological here to give them like the list of how they have to implement the behavior. That's the best way for them to correctly implement the plan. Consider the reasons for the current behavior change. So if your client does not possess that skill when you need to design,
I think you put there behavior challenge, so you can change it to change.
oh, sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry. So some consideration for reasons, consider the reasons for the current behavior change. If your client does not possess the skill, then you need to design and focus on teaching that skill. If your client possesses the skill but not engaged in the behavior, then you need to design and focus on effectively reinforcing the client to use that skill. We can also use less expensive and less intrusive procedures. And we can ask for help and input from family members or other significants close to the client. The best. So continuation on case 02. So after the program has been chosen and affirmed by those involved, we must plan ways to assure it is carried out intact. So the training, when we train supervisors, we need to include, we need to be present. And presence is crucial to help solve a problem or to demonstrate appropriate procedures during the initial phase or implementation of new programs, to address questions, models, supportive feedback, etc. And then we need to train before implementing a program. We need to provide support during the intervention and think of what kind of support you can provide. Make a reinforcing implementation to carry out. And we need to avoid procedural drift and maintain procedural fidelity. And doing this is conduct training before and during program implementation. And I know somebody was asking to go over treatment drift and what was the other question? Behavior drift, I think.
It was me. It was treatment drift and observer drift.
Can anybody explain that? I know there's somebody here can explain that better than me.
I think I'm going to try.
Okay.
I think the observer drift happens when the person carrying out the program knows that there's a supervisor around. Think of it as if you're like a classroom teacher and you know that you're getting observation. There's some kind of nervousness in you because you know that somebody's there observing you. So that's observer drift.
Is that reactivity too?
Yeah, that's reactivity. That's completely different.
Is.
I think that's reactivity.
I looked them up today.
Okay.
It says observer drift is when observers unknowingly alter the way they apply a measurement system.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I found. That too.
So the target behavior drifts or changes over time.
So it has to do more with the understanding the definition of the target behavior. So they start collecting data on things that are not what it should be. That's for observer drift.
So they're altering behavior unknowingly, that's what you said?
Yes, unknowingly. And according to Cooper, that's the definition, unintended change in the way an observer uses a measurement system. So, but it has to do with, for instance, maybe not understanding what, the behavior they should be collecting data on. So maybe they think a temper tantrum maybe has to do with just screaming and crying, but maybe the way it was written down on the plan was that it had to kick and last for a certain period of time, but they're not considering those things. So that the data is, collected inaccurately.
So with observer drift and treatment drift, it has to do with the data. Not exactly like the behavior of the person who's recording.
Treatment drift says when application of the intervention in later phases differs from the original application. And I wrote that it's the opposite of treatment integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I just took Bill's mock today and I got both questions with it wrong. I like did the opposite.
Okay.
Can you read the second definition that you read?
When application of the independent variable in later phases differs from the original application.
Okay.
So that shows that the person who is providing the intervention is not providing the intervention correctly, or that they become lazy or something like that. That's how treatment drift happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what I understand of it. Yeah. So it's applied differently. The independent variable of an experiment is applied differently.
Yeah.
I put it in plain language. I don't know whether I said it correctly or not. But
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna try to see if I can find a good example on that. So then we have to be flexible when the program needs to be changed, when conditions can be carried out by staff effectively. And I mean, sometimes we need, to be flexible in the conditions of the environment, or we cannot carry the treatment as it is. Any questions on K02? And again, I put over here the pages where I found all this information: Pasadena, Balance, and Cooper. Okay, K03, design and use competency-based training for persons who are responsible for carrying out behavioral assessment and behavioral change procedures. Competence-based training involves clearly identify the behaviors or the skill to be learned, achievement of minimal competency criteria by each trainee, performance criteria that establish when and how these behaviors should perform, and the requirement that each trainee meets that criteria before training is considered and competence is achieved when the trainee can demonstrate the skill on the job. And some of the desired influences on observers that might treat the accuracy and reliability of the data is observer reactivity, that somebody mentioned already, and that's being aware of being observed. The main points of competence-based training is that a skill is actually demonstrated by a supervisee, and feedback is offered until mastery is achieved. So according to Pazovic, provide a rationale for why the target skill are to be trained. And I put over here why is important. So maybe a key to remember this. Provide a written description, instruction of the target skill. So what you do in writing. Provide a detailed vocal description, instruction of the target skill. And I put let me tell you. Demonstrate, model each of the target skill. Let me show you. That's the key. Require supervisors to practice, rehearse each target skill. I put let's practice. Provide positive and corrective feedback to supervisee. That's the feedback, so we can say let's fix this, or great job. Repeat the previous steps until supervisee performs each target skills correctly. I put try again. And then assess application and generalization of skills to new targets, client, and settings when appropriate. These steps may be defined differently or modified by others. And I put now let's do it in the park, restaurant, etc. Any questions on K03?
No, this is a great slide. You did amazing with this one. I really like it.
I was taking my time so I can learn it. um, K04, design and use effective performance monitoring and reinforcement system. Systematic performance monitoring ensures, and according to Pazavic, is the staff is carrying out the procedures as intended, that systematically data collection will provide objective performance measurement, staff will receive feedback more openly, and that the plan is working to help the client. And 4 ways to effectively monitor staff performance is inform, friendly, overt, and feedback. And inform is the staff they are being I think I've already wrong this one. Inform the staff that they are being monitoring and why. I have to fix this one. Um, friendly, be friendly, polite, and courteous to staff. Overt, monitor staff overtly. Um, and feedback, the feedback should be given to staff immediately too. Formal monitoring involves the intentional observation and data collection of the quality of particular aspect of work performance during predetermined times. Covert monitoring is not advised due to the discontentment that is tend to evoke from supervisors, and reactivity refers to which a person being observed alters their behavior as a function of being observed. How to minimize reactivity to staff performance. We can monitor frequently. We can monitor at unpredictable times and intervals, and we can conduct it unexpected returns to avoid reactivity. And how are you gonna provide supervisors with positive reinforcement for effective performance? And according to the BAS study guide, positive feedback for acceptable exemplary performance should be given as soon as possible after observation. And the way we can give feedback is corrective feedback before next opportunity to perform, praise for prompts, report submissions, or praise for prompts, report submissions, or an effective demonstration to clients, reinforce any positive efforts, promote of self-monitoring, self-management and strategies, inviting questions and discussions. And there's a protocol on PASDAVIC that you can look for providing the feedback. And I think this one is really important, K04, to even to just by you being happy in your job, and that you receive positive feedback, or you can do so many, like the procedural fidelity, you can do the treatment as it is. And I guess you don't get bored when you're happy and you receive the feedback from your supervisor. Any questions on K04?
No, I'm good. Those are great things to keep in mind. Thanks.
Thank you, Minerva. That was awesome.
I think this one, let me see what's, okay. I just got to K05. I couldn't finish the whole, because I was trying, to find the right information that I have from my notes, and not knowing like where I get this. So I just got to K05. So for K05, design and use system for monitoring procedural integrity. And these are the AKAs that we need to remember. So this again refers to the accuracy with which the intervention is implemented. So ensure procedural integrity is maintained Observers are independent when taking IOA data. And time sampling is for brief observation period, less intimidating, less stressful. And then evaluating data collection, correct procedure, data is taken daily, on time. And then we can use permanent product where the behavior is measured through a permanent change, paperwork, video recording, data collection. And you want to make procedures as simple as possible. How do you unmute everyone? Oh. You want to make procedures as simple as possible and provide a competence-based training and review procedures often and plan for maintenance and terminations of service. I think that's important, that we need to have like an end goal. Also, for ensure procedural integrity is maintained, observers are independent. Oh no, I already read that one. Sorry. Okay. Any question to Chaos 5? I just think I feel like I'm repeating myself. I don't know if I confuse anyone. This is some notes that I just have. I don't think I'm just gonna read it. I don't know if it's gonna be helpful, but I have something in each of the PowerPoints, and then if you think I'm wrong or not clear, just stop me. Provide K06, provide supervision for behavior change agents. In this ethical rule, I found it in Pazavic. Must provide supervision from the beginning. If you can do it, don't get the case. Supervise within the areas of competence, and take the number of cases that is commensurate with your ability to be effective. And you delegate responsibilities that your supervisors can reasonably be expected to perform completely, ethically, and safely. If the supervisors do not have the skills, I guess you have to teach them. Some of the behavior change agents' work responsibility should be described in terms of observable and objective. We need to define the behavior. We need to have evidence-based supervision procedures which are effective, but they are often not used as they can be rather. Oh my goodness, I don't even know what I put over here. Did anybody have any other point on K06? Just gonna stop over here. Anybody else have any information on K06?
Supervisees have to be supervised at least 5% of their total monthly hours.
5%?
Yep.
And at least 2 times per month?
Yeah, observe twice per month.
Yeah, I forgot that one. Good, thank you. K07, evaluate the effectiveness of the behavioral program. That's extraneous or confounding variables, events and stimuli in the experimental setting that must be held constant to prevent unplanned influence on the target behavior. They are sometimes called, yes? Somebody was saying something? They are sometimes called paraprofessionals. Paraprofessionals are generally the experts on the individuals with whom they work. They can provide abundance of useful information. And when developing programs, consider How significant other will support the individual's new skills, include ecological manipulation, prompts, etc. Did anybody have a point for K07 that I don't know?
I'm looking at the notes that I was mentioning earlier that has the test list. And it says, for this point, it says evaluating effectiveness and try to match it with the 7 dimensions of ABA. So generality, effective, technological, applied, conceptually systematic, analytic, and behavioral. So are the results extending beyond the training context? Are they improving the behavior? Are you describing what to do and how to be replicated? Is it socially significant? Is it consistent with the principles of behavior? Is it systematic manipulation? And is it observable, measurable? And of course, that you've chosen the behavior that needs to be improved. So, they match it up to evaluate, the effectiveness of your program.
Oh, I like that.
I do too. Yeah.
I'm gonna look at that and a nice PowerPoint for that one. K08 establish support for behavior analytic services from direct and indirect consumers. How significant other will support the individual's new skills? I read that. No? I don't know what I'm doing now.
That's the one that you were on. So
yeah,
go
right?
to 18. Yeah, go to 18. You did 17, and that's the one where you had added the 7 dimensions.
Oh, okay. This is where I have to put the 7 dimensions, right?
No, it was on the previous one. You did it. You already added it.
Oh, okay.
On 17.
Okay. I feel like I was reading this one the same. K08 establish support for behavior analytic services from direct and indirect consumers. How significant other will support the individual new skills. I just feel like I read this one already. Okay.
You just think like that because it's your own slides and you think that way.
I don't know. Okay. So how significant others will support the individual new skills, repertoire including ecological manipulation, prompts, how significant others will be reinforced for doing so, and what reinforcers will control the new behavior after programming has been reduced or discontinued. An extra point that you want to share?
I just have parent trainings and team meetings.
And team leaders?
Team meetings.
Oh. Okay. I can look on that. K09, secure the support of others to maintain the client's behavioral repertoires in their natural environments. Maintaining behavior change is most successful when natural sources of reinforcement can be arranged to support the change. Research shown that reinforcement delivered by individuals familiar to the client is more effective than reinforcement delivered by researchers or consultants. Intermittent schedules produce behavior that is more resistant to extinction than continuous schedules. An extra point?